Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast. Round 21 and done. A few very happy teams out there, a few unhappy teams out there, a few happy refs, a few unhappy refs, a few unhappy members of the Supercoach world. You name it, it's all out there. But we're a few guys down at the moment. We've got Jakey Boy out doing some live streaming stuff for the gaming world with that new rugby league game, which unfortunately we could come on here and say we spent hours and hours playing over the weekend, but due to all the updates and things like that after all the disaster that it's been, we haven't really got a chance to do too much on it. So not much to report here, but Jakey Boy is ripping and tearing over there. So all those gamers, make sure you do go check out that aspect of the page. That will be happening every Sunday night moving forward, plus some content in and around that each and every week, plus the dedicated group chat that we have at the moment. $2.99 per month. It's part of the package. You get discount on merch, all that sort of thing, exclusive content around Supercoach, NRL, all that sort of thing, NRLW as well. And we've got an actual gaming chat in there, which people who are in there will get priority access to when we start doing our online comps with the game. You'll get first in, which will have prizes featuring as well. I've got a new face tonight, so I'll quickly just shout out to Caxton Street Brewing Company, our major sponsor. I believe they had a huge weekend. Obviously, the Dolphins game mixed into the Rah-Rahs. I actually was in Brisbane today. I actually seen the British and Irish. I think that's what they call British Irish Lions or something. The rugby. Yeah. You can tell how much I don't follow that side of the game, guys, but that's sport. But saw them getting on their bus today. There were some big boys, I'll tell you that much. Would not be liking to tackle them, but they would have had a massive weekend with all that. So shout out to the guys at Caxton Street Brewing Company. Do a fantastic job, and thank you for the sponsorship. Got Cam along. Cam has been doing a bit of work with us, obviously behind the scenes, a lot of the NRLW focused side of the game, but he also does a lot of the NRL posts for us as well. Been with the page now for, I reckon it's almost getting to a year now for Cam. So just getting in and amongst it now. He messaged me. We were down a few. He's happy to jump on. Got the setup ready to go. Talks and footy. He's watched every single game this weekend, which I can say is a lot more than what we get from either Jake or whoever else jumps in mostly on a week-to-week basis. So you're going to have top knowledge here. Cam, welcome, mate. Welcome to the big time.
Kia ora, mate. Thanks for having me.
And you can tell and you can hear it there. The accent is quite thick, so we'll get through this. But the Kiwi fans will be loving it out there. You'll probably be able to understand him a lot more than you can understand me half the time. So, and he's also still buzzing from an amazing victory. It was, just a matter of hours ago now that we filmed this. Leka Halasima, one of the best individual tries I think I've ever seen, Ken. That would have, you've been jumping up and down and almost put a hole through your floor.
Well, it took me by surprise. I thought that game was completely gone. And I was like, oh, here we go. But then out of nowhere, Leka come through with the goods. Not the first time this season either, so we should expect it for him, I suppose.
I'd walk into the office tomorrow and give him a 10-year contract and say, you name the price and we will do it. So he's someone you literally just cannot lose, in my opinion. Let's quickly go through the ladder, which we do each and every week. So the Raiders on top. Next up, the Bulldogs have leapt over the Storm. So they go into second place, Storm third. Warriors hang on to fourth place. It was looking very, very dicey there for a long time to reduce that gap to the Broncos, but they've kept it a 4-point buffer. Broncos, Penrith, Manly, and the Sharkies round out the top 8. Dolphins very close behind, just one win behind the Sharkies, sitting in 9th spot. The Roosters, Dragons, Tigers, Cowboys, then the Knights, Bunnies leapfrog the Eels, even though they're on the same points differential. It's very close between those two teams at the moment. The Eels 16th and the Titans are 17th, last on ladder. Quick shout out to our player of the round as well. So you're currently all going through the vote, but don't let us persuade your vote. Please go on the social media pages, so Instagram, Facebook, have your votes. But I'll ask you, Cam, who was your voted man of the match, man of the round between the next three names I'll give you? Jake Averillo, Blake Brailey, or Dylan Edwards?
I'm going to go Dylan Edwards. I think he really stood up when Yo and Cleary were obviously out this week. And he just led from the back. Every run was 110%. I think To'o, he was a bit injured, but Dylan, he just thought, I'll take it. I'll take every carry. I'll lead the team, and he did a pretty good job, I thought.
I'm absolutely with you. Also with you because he was my captain in Supercoach this week and absolutely flew in that and one of my draft comps as well. So in just classic and the draft, absolutely massive fanboy of Dylan Edwards this round. I thought he had an incredible game. Taking Supercoach aside, I thought he was enormous. So I'll give him it via points, to be honest. Alrighty, let's go to our first talking point. Let's put you right under the microscope. Let's talk about the Dolphins. Obviously, off the back of a win, 43 points to 24. Cowboys got a few late tries to make that scoreline a bit more respectable than felt like what the game was. I think the Dolphins are very dominant for a majority of that game. More so, just to talk, are they legit contenders in terms of a top 8 team this year, in your opinion?
For this year's comp, I reckon. I think they're a little bit light on forwards, which might, hinder them a little bit. But I think their back line is absolutely outstanding. I mean, you got the likes of Katoa playing 7, Herbie in the centres, and Averillo. These guys just absolutely ripping and tearing from the back. They can get away with these forwards not being there. So I think for this year's competition, definitely, because it's so inconsistent, and they are being consistent. Obviously, had a rough start to the year with the storms and everything like that. But I reckon they're a top 8 team, definitely. They're a lot more consistent than your Manleys at the moment than your Sharks. Roosters probably not. So I think the Dolphins definitely deserve to be there, and I think they might just slip in towards the end of the year.
They've got the second best points differential in the competition, only behind the Storm, who have been absolutely flying. But that in itself suggests to me how good they are going. They've scored a lot of points. We know attack is not an issue for them. You can probably say perhaps the defensive side and even letting Cowboys score a few softish sort of tries are a bit disappointing for them, and that's probably their question mark. But I definitely think there's a real possibility the Dolphins can be playing finals football this year. I think the loss on the weekend, for the Roosters over the Sharkies, probably helped them as well, give them a bit more confidence, the Dolphins. But we'll see what happens there. Well, can we also just quickly talk about the fact that their forward pack has been depleted now for all year? It's pretty remarkable that they are where they are, to be honest. Like their injury run, I don't want to list off some names because I'll miss someone, but their injury list has been shocking all year. And to be where they are at the moment, 9th on the ladder, 1 win outside the 8, is actually remarkable in itself.
Absolutely. I think they're missing, their top tier forwards. You see, like Gilbert, Flegler, these would be their highest paid forwards. Yeah. They've done it without them pretty much all season. And it's just sort of like a next man up mentality, I reckon. Huge. I think I know Christian Wolf. I think he's quite a lot similar to Wayne Bennett, where he amps the boys up, amps the team up before running out. Really, I think they call him a man manager, sort of a coach, and I think that's actually sort of worked in their favour. When you get like these smaller guys like Kurt Donahue playing well above his weight, playing 13, helps a lot. So I think a lot of credit's got to go to Christian Wolf, but then for the players as well. Shout out to big Frankie Molo. Had probably a tough start to the year with the Dragons mishap and what have you, but I think since he's come back into the Dolphins, he's really led by the front, I reckon. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely spot on, and I just think one other final shout out I'll give is to Jake Averillo. Obviously, we just spoke to him. He's had a really good game this round, but I think overall he has been overshadowed a bit by Herbie. I think that's fair though. Herbie's been probably arguably one of the best centers in the game for 2 years now, if not 3 years actually, with the Broncos run to the finals. Well, he was instrumental that year for the Broncos. So I think that is fair enough. You got the Hemo there as well. So I feel like Jake's been very smart with the way he plays his game. He actually allows those guys to do what they got to do, but he also has moments in games often. And we just got to see on the weekend just how good and dangerous he is. I've been a huge fan of him, even back when he was at the Dogs. I thought he was used as a bit of a scapegoat there. I'd love to see him there at the moment under that regime. I feel like he'd just excel even more. But I love him at the moment with Dole. I think the way they play as well really suits his style and that him as a player. I think there's some big things coming for Averillo, and I think the dangerous thing for him is the closer he gets to the ball, whether it's at fullback or 5'8", seems to be the better he plays. So having that ace up the Dolphins' sleeve as they get closer to finals and being able to throw different shapes and things like that and different plans at teams, that's a huge advantage.
And I think why he's excelling so much at the moment is because he plays so straight. And because he's playing so straight, it's really catching teams off guard a lot. When you can play straight, you can play with speed, you go through the line a lot. And I think that's what he's doing at the moment. And then when you've got the likes of Herbie outside you, Hammer outside you, when you're doing that, your team just reaps the rewards.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Watch out for the Finns. Finns are up. That is for sure. Spoken about the next result, the Sharkies 31 defeating the Roosters 18. I think the scoreboard here really gives the Roosters a lot of respect. I actually think the Sharkies were quite dominant in this game. And what I liked the most about this, and we mentioned it a bit last week, myself and Jake, but the Hynes and Brailey combination at the moment is on fire, and it's just going from strength to strength. We all anticipated Brailey's game to go to this next level once AFB arrived for them. I thought Fanil Blake was going to be huge for him, confidence-wise. It's taken a long time. He hasn't been this good all year. Like, I don't want to pump his tires up too much, but I said it last week, the last 4 to 6 weeks of his has been immense. And the scary thing is he's actually getting better as the weeks go. And I love the fact the last 2 weeks, it feels like Trindle's been really quiet. But I think I like that. Trindle's been more so taking a backwards seat and going, I'll orchestrate things and see where everything's going. I won't overplay my hand. I'll let Hynes, who I know has done it in the past, and I'll also let Brailey, who's got the confidence at the moment, and let that have a different aspect to our attack moving forward, because it's been a long time since we've seen the Sharkies play an attack from dummy half. The fact they're now doing that, I think it's huge, mate. I think I wrote them off a few weeks ago before sort of Brailey started hitting form and Hynes got a bit more confidence back. But while I don't think they can probably win the competition, I think they can be a real thorn in the backside of a lot of teams ahead of them in the leading to this final series.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Trindle actually had a really good first half. I think right at the start of that game, actually took a lot of the kicking, took a lot of control, and then that's when Brailey went. And as soon as Brailey started running, that's when Hynes started getting involved. So I think when they get the balance right between Hynes and Trindle, I think it has helped so much. I think Brailey feels confident now that he knows when to run, when he can run, that he is good at running. As soon as he sees a little gap here or there, go. And then that's when Hynes plays best. Because I reckon back when he was with the Storm, and that's when he broke out, he was playing fullback. He was running off the back of all the shape, running out the back of all these good players. And as soon as Brailey gets that front foot action, Hynes really loves that. He loves playing on the front foot. And I think that's really helping the Sharks game at the moment.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think on the down low, I think Fanil Blake's starting to get back to some of his better football as well after a quiet year. So I think that's helping everyone overall. The forwards are starting to get a bit of momentum. They've got Iro to come back, I think, in the next 3 or 4 weeks, just before finals hits. As long as they can get him and they can sit around that, get a home semi-final, first week of the finals, who knows what the Sharkies could, as I said, go a couple of weeks into the final series and surprise a few. On that game, I was shocked, it's got to be said, and obviously this is a bit to do with team list, but then that it went into the game, I was shocked Townsend played. I think we all remember how poor he was at the start of the year. He got dropped, New South Wales Cup. A few people I've spoken to have mentioned that he's almost done not much at all at New South Wales Cup. For that guy of that standard, you'd think would dominate that competition a lot more, which is really disappointing. And Sandon Smith, how good he was, how good he has been this year, not just this year, last year in the finals for the Roosters. I think it's a massive mistake what Robinson's doing right now in dropping him completely. It's for me, it feels like he's told the club he's not there next year. He doesn't feel like he's probably been treated the best with DCE now coming in, destroying that him and Walker partnership, which I think is the best way to. I know Savala's coming on. I still think Savala has a bit of work to do in his game. His kicking game's remarkable. But for me, I think Walker and Sandon Smith is their strongest 6 and 7 at the moment to get them somewhere in the competition. I think when they're pretty much full strength, they're one of the better teams in the competition. I think they've surprised a lot of people this year, and they're in a good position. But at the moment, whatever is going on with Sandon Smith could really derail their season because Sam Walker's not quite the player yet that he was actually pretty good on the weekend. He was pretty busy, but he's still got a little bit of confidence to gain. And I think pairing him up with that safe play of Townsend or Savala, I don't think it's the right decision. I think they need someone with a bit of speed, can work the ruck and work some of the defenders a bit more like Sandon Smith does. I was just shocked, mate. I was shocked that Sandon Smith has just all of a sudden become scapegoat, really, and haven't been playing bad. But yeah, I'm just shocked that Sandon Smith was not there over Chad Townsend.
Well, it's crazy because it wasn't too long ago. It was Anzac round when everybody was like, Sandon Smith, where's the Spain? He had the game of his life against the Dragons on Anzac round. Everybody's like, oh, what are the, this is the future. Get Sandon Smith signed up. And then, fast forward 10 or so weeks and it's like, Sandon Smith's on the outer. It's funny how rugby league works. Like a couple weeks or 10 weeks, it's, stuff's forgotten. So I think it potentially could be an issue, especially for the playing group, because if you think about how the way Sandon Smith's played, he's not been, outstanding this season, but he's been decent. And if the rest of the team think, they'll be with him, they've been playing with him every week, and then suddenly he's out and Chad Townsend's back. It's a little bit like if I was in the changing sheds, I'd be thinking, what's going on here? Well, I suppose it's the Roosters, so there's quite a lot of that been happening this year, hasn't there? To be fair.
Yes, there is. It just, it feels a bit odd. I don't like it at all. And I think to drop him for Townsend is a huge slap. Like in a way, I can get it with the Savala side of it, but for Townsend, I just don't get it at all. I just think it's a huge mistake. Like I said, and I think it's one question mark that Robbo really does need to answer for. Dylan Edwards, we both said he was our man of the match, or man of the round, I should say. And the clinic he put on the weekend with that big win over the Bunnies that the Panthers had, that was minus Cleary and Yo, obviously. They just sort of, I think South kept it respectable for most. And to be honest, the 30-10 scoreline does look quite respectable for what it was. I think Penrith were very smart, very professional with how they went about this win. I was really impressed with a couple of their youngsters, but Dylan Edwards, the way he played, the captaincy on his arm with those two key guys out, Toto almost on one leg once again. He's just a machine. But Edwards' game as a whole, mate, like this is the time of year where, and to be honest with you, I think it was probably the freshest and best his body's looked all year. I think he came into the year looking a bit busted. A big Origin campaign. I was surprised he's come back and looks so fresh. He doesn't look like he needs another rest. Like I'd probably play him now until their season's over and done with, because he's shown on the weekend, if he can keep that form up and add to that mix Yo and Cleary, I don't want to be versing Penrith in the run home. That is for sure. I think they're going to be right in amongst it when the going is getting tough for a lot of teams. I'm talking about finals football. I feel like they'll just go to another level. And it's off the back of, obviously, Edwards. I think Edwards doesn't get many of the plaudits that he deserves because he's amongst Cleary and Yo. But when he's in this form, he's easily, for mine, probably the best fullback in the game.
Well, definitely. And he takes those fourth tackle carries, and they're just outstanding. It's just he sort of kind of brought that to the game, I think, especially because he's just such a strong runner. Whenever it's fourth tackle, he seems to get and take that run, even if he's taken the kick return. And it just helped his young halves so much on the weekend, because Dylan Edwards, he's not much of a kicker himself, but the kicking game of Schneider was actually pretty decent. And I think that was a big help from Dylan Edwards on that fourth tackle carry. So I think he's probably taking the brunt a little bit of the departure of James Fisher-Harris, who would often get quite a good go forward towards the back end of the set. But Dylan Edwards is really coming through and taking up that workload. So I think that's helping.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And it's when you actually go back and think about the players they did lose coming into this year, to think they are where they are again, it's just they are a remarkable club. Like, I'm jealous because they're my arch rivals for obviously being a Para fan, but when I put my League of Inches hat on and I've got to be respectful and honest and just call a spade, like they are such a remarkable club, mate. Like where they keep going, and even just for example, you look back and you think about Blaze Slung. He started the year, he wasn't even in the team. He was a bit. He obviously had the shoulder surgery, but took him a while to come back and get used to the shape. There was never any panic. There was just, no, we're good. We've got this. They were sitting last, 6 weeks ago or something. They were last on the ladder. Yeah. Still, no panic. We're good. We'll get there. We'll get it done. We know what we can do. And it's like all of a sudden they've hit this switch in their training ground and they're gone, now we're entering premiership mode. Now let's go. Now, it's probably a lot earlier than what we're used to seeing it with them. But they've done the impossible every year now for the last 3 or 4 years. It's been incredible. And I'm not doubting him now. Like, there'll be some out there who's going, this is their run, but it's gone way too early. I think what they'll do, and they've shown it this week, they'll rest a couple here and there and they'll get away. They've got a really soft draw for the next 3 or 4 weeks. They can get away with resting somebody. Like, I'd probably give Brian Toto, to be honest, 1 or 2 weeks at least rest. I'll just go, go and get your leg right. We need you for finals. We don't need you right now. We need you for finals. And just see what happens. But they're looking good, aren't they? They're looking really good.
They are looking really good, and I think they've got the players to actually cover tour. They've got Jenkins, Alamotti. They got the McLean boys. So I think they could probably, when the other boys come back, Yo and Cleary, I think they could probably, handle his omission for a few weeks and really get that leg right. Because I think come finals time, if you've got To'o Edwards running at you, play 1 and 2. I think it's a scary sight. So I think that's definitely a pretty fair call to give him a rest and try to get that. I think it's hamstring and knee because he's had that hamstring problem all year, I think.
Probably connected.
Yeah, well, but definitely give him a rest and then see where they can take them. I think they've won a comp a different way every year. So they just want another string to the bow, I think. But to be honest, I wouldn't put it past them to make a really, really deep run into the finals.
I'm with you. I'm with you, and I think there'll be a lot of teams above them on the ladder, like your Bulldogs, your Raiders, even your Storms. Like there'll be a number of these sorts of teams, the Broncos, who will be sitting there going, "Oh shit!" About 5 weeks ago, they thought they were about to come into a finals campaign without the Penrith Panthers, and I think everyone would have been breathing a huge sigh of relief. Now they're sitting there going, oh no, like what are we getting ourselves into? Because you do not want to verse them. But I've always said I wanted them to make the finals because I like to see, if they are to lose, I want to see someone beat them and knock them out of the finals, if you know what I'm trying to say there in terms of the nostalgic sort of vibe for it. Like, I didn't want to see them just go out the back door, not even make finals and someone else wins the comp. I want to see someone knock Penrith out in the finals and they become the team. And I think it'd be cool to see someone like the Raiders do it and they become the next team that go, because they've got a great young team, the Raiders. They could really, I think they could do something big this year, but it'd be cool storyline wise to see someone beat them in like the semis or something and go, yep, that was cool. That was their run over and done with. Let's move on.
Well, even the Doggies, if the Doggies beat them with all the former Penrith players, I think that might be a bit different as well. I think they might. I think those Dogs boys, they might feel it a bit more. Like, we got you back.
You won't hear at the end of it from Crichton. I reckon Crichton would be messaging those boys for the next year a premiership photo every day, just to rub it in. Look what I got, boys. Look what I got off you. It was all me. Look, talking about the opposite side of things now, and I want to talk about obviously the team they beat, the South Sydney Rabbitohs. There's a lot of talk out there at the moment. People talking about the injury toll, the numbers behind it, and things like that. First of all, I want to say this: I do understand it's been a tough year for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I get it. It's probably been a tough 3 years on the injury front. Like, they just can't keep players on the field. And I sat back and I've thought about it, and I've had a few South Sydney people message me through the page and things like that. There was a big chat we had in one of the groups. Please, guys, make sure you join the groups. There's a lot of good content in behind it. There was a guy who reached out, wants to remain nameless, which I totally respect and I understand why, because of the information he gave me. But basically said to me the strength and conditioning guys at that club are probably the worst in the competition. And how they're still in there, he has absolutely no idea. He knows them. He knows them quite well, knows their past, things like that also. And he's shocked that they're still there and that Wayne actually has them at the club. But I think the results are speaking for themselves, that he's hit the nail on the head. And I think everyone's starting to click onto that now. There is something going on. There's so much soft tissue injuries at that club over the last 2-3 years now that there's got to be question marks where they're training, what their recovery is like. And then you also throw into the mix, and this is where the club comes into it, Blake Soley and things like that, their recruitment. Like, it's just been so poor and just completely out of whack there.
Yeah.
If they do get 2 or 3 injuries, it's all of a sudden completely derails their side. And that shouldn't be happening. Like, we just went through the Dolphins, who have had mainly their run-on forward pack out for almost a year now, and they're still almost fighting for the 8 and look like they're a high chance of making the 8, where the Bunnies are looking like they're going to be getting the spoon. Like, if the Titans can pull something out and get a win or two, the Bunnies look odds on to get the spoon. So there's a few little bits to mix in here in the bowl he can to throw to you. It's a big first podcast for you, but there's a lot happening at the Bunnies, isn't there? There's a lot.
Well, there is a lot, and I think the biggest thing that sort of describes the whole situation was Cheese. When he came back, he hadn't even done an opposed session. Wayne Bennett came to him. He said, "I need you to play." The medical team said, "We probably advise you not to play." He said he'd play. Wayne asked him, "Can you play?" He didn't do an opposed session, which is crazy. First contact was going out there the other week, and he does his medial. Like, that probably sums up sort of where they're at, sort of thing. Like, that this sort of scrounging for a result, this scrounging to put things together. And I think what doesn't help as well is the roster's pretty top heavy. So you've got these gun forward, this gun back line. You've got Whiten, who's actually a 6, but he's playing in the centres for quite a lot of, on a big contract. You've got Campbell Graham.
800 odd K, I think.
Yeah. You've got Lewis Dodd. He's top, making that back line really top heavy in the salary cap, where you probably need a couple big names or a bigger name in the forward pack. Just one more prop, I reckon. If they get a really decent prop.
Before you move on, just quickly, can we just quickly address the Dodd stuff a bit more? Because I don't think there's been enough spoken about how horrible this signing's been. Like, there has to be some real question mark. If I was a South member, I'd be demanding some answers from the club, because it appears, and I've heard a few of the big podcasts and news sort of journo podcasts and stuff start to talk about it and say, when they reach out to the club, no one's taking ownership now. There's sort of a he said, she said type thing, and he wanted him, and he made the call. Wayne didn't know about it. All this sort of stuff's coming out. But someone at that club made this signing happen. And it was around the time, I believe, that JD was just out the door as well. So they can't just always sit back and go, "Oh, it's JD." Like, there were some plans in place there by higher ups, knowing that JD's time was about to be up. So they had to be across any signing that was made. To sign a guy that was playing reserve grade at Super League, not even New South Wales Cup or Queensland Cup, but in the Super League, which I've spoken to a few of the past players that are over in the Super League at the moment. They said that division is, you can walk through it. You can, if you're a half decent player, you're killing it. Like, that's embarrassing. And to have him on what is he on now? A 700 odd K deal for the Bunnies, playing reserve grade all year. And they basically seem to be going out of their way to make sure they pick anyone but him on a weekly basis. It just doesn't sit right with me at all. And that 700K could and should be going towards the middle, should be going towards an impact sort of forward. They're missing that hugely. Like, they're screaming for those sorts of players, yet they can't, because someone went out there and signed this guy for 700K. They're not playing him. He's laughing.
It's crazy. It sort of feels like they're trying to show them that we don't want you, so we'll play you for 10 minutes off the bench. We'll pick you in the starting 17, but then we'll drop you last minute. It's just got a feeling that they just want to get rid of him. I did hear a good take during the week. Someone said, your season's gone, just play him at the 7, show every other team that he can play, and then sell him. So get someone to pick him up. Yeah. So give him the 7 for the rest of the season, and then show other teams that he's, let's say, worth 500k, and you can get 500k off your cap, chip in 200, and then try get that forward that they so desperately need.
And that's the thing. Like, they've got Cody Walker now, who's confirmed to be out for the year. I believe I've had a mental blank. The guy that came over from the Tigers this year, who's loving Sullivan. Yeah, Sullivan I think is out for a while as well. Humphreys obviously killed at the start of the year, but let's be honest, I actually think his form has dropped considerably since the opening month or so where he was on fire. So I don't think they're going to lose that much if they do play Dodd at halfback, and just say to Humphreys, let's just build your confidence back up and go, and if you maybe even a 14 for him while Smith is out could work, because he has been a dummy half in the past, so that might be able to work. But you're right, they do, if they want to get rid of Dodd, they need to show other clubs or Super League clubs that hey, this guy can actually play. Like, no one wants to buy him at the moment when he's playing in reserve grade and not even killing that competition at the moment. So they're getting themselves in a bit of a corner here, the Bunnies, with this situation. And you're right, even about White, and he's on 800 to 900k at the moment, playing in the centres. He's all 5'8". Yes, I'd probably argue that he's been one of their better players in terms of effort on effort, but is he really the player that they needed? No. Like, their backline seemed pretty good, and it's only been because of injuries. Their backline hasn't been able to flourish the way that I think we all know that backline could do when it is full strength or close to it. Again, that was just a signing that it's looked and sounded great, like him going to his family and his mates and stuff like that. But when you're thinking about it from a business point of view, was it really the signing that the Bunnies need? I don't think so. It's just a number of these. No.
Yeah.
No. It's shocking, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe for the end of the season, I think you could push Havili back to the bench, play Humphreys at 9 even, and then let Dodd and Whiten have a crack, because I think Humphreys is actually a 9. He played 7 last year for the Seagulls, I think, in one game, and everybody was like, wow, how are they letting him go? But I think potentially we're kind of seeing why. Maybe he's not that 7. I think he'd be a great 14. He loves to run the ball. He's a big boy. He can make his tackles. Maybe he is better suited to that 9, and bring Havili off the bench, and you've got an extra forward, like a genuine forward.
Yeah, I don't mind that. He's done a lot of work at hooker over the last few years as well. I know back in his Manly days, he spent a lot of time at hooker there as well. So I don't mind that at all. And Ethan Strange, mate, I wanted to just give him a bit of a rap, because obviously we watched the Raiders carve up the Eels late on. This game was right in the balance. There's a lot I could probably say about the officiating. I'm not one of those fans that blame the officials whatsoever, and I know the Raiders got the win. They deserved it. I think Joash Papali'i cost the Eels a few key moments, a few loose passes, and just overplayed his hand trying to look for and create a huge moment instead of letting it come naturally for him. He sort of let the Raiders get back into the game and get them a bit of momentum, which I think was a huge reason why the Eels lost. But I don't think the officiating helped at all. I think there was some pretty blatant calls that was very Raider focused by Ashley Klein, and I keep saying it, and not just because it was against my team, but how he's ranked as the number 1 referee in this game absolutely boggles my mind. That's pathetic in my opinion. And if he is the number 1 ref in this game, in the off season, they need to go and absolutely blow it up and start again and start fresh, because that's the officiating at the moment, I feel like, is the lowest and worst it's been for a long, long time. But I sort of got off task. I didn't want to go there, but it just came out. It came out at me. Ethan Strange, mate. Yeah, back on track here. Ethan Strange. They mentioned in the commentary, and it was one of the things I actually agreed with for him, but actually, hang on. I've got to go back. I'm going off track one more time for one more point, because a few people will be listening to this. A few try to give it to me in the chats and stuff like that. And I want to get your thoughts. The 40-20 attempt that the Eels ended up challenging, and they got it right in terms of they said it wasn't a 40-20 attempt, and they got it right there, the Eels, with their challenge. I think that was absolutely spot on. Like, the ball bounces out about 3 or 4 meters post the outline, and it didn't even make the 20-meter line yet. So I felt like it was on an angle. It was bouncing out to an angle. For me, it was a pretty clear It didn't go inside the 20-meter line, but did you see it that way? I thought it was very obvious. People trying to say it was a 50-50 call that went the Eels' way. I thought it was almost a 90-10 call that just was an obvious one.
I think with the way the bunker officiated that one, they're sort of digging themselves into a dangerous hole. Like when you've got a ball trapping on an angle and they've gone, this sign or this post is here and it's bound. I think because it's not like the camera was straight. So I think now they've gone down that route. I think might be a bit dangerous. To be honest, I thought it was short. But it's a tough one. Like, it could go either way. But I just think if that's the new standard and that's what we're going to go by, I think it's going to lead to a few more controversies that we potentially don't need. If you just go, we'll go with ref's call. Keep your challenge. We'll go with ref's call. For future, I think that might be the way to go. But it's a tough one. Could go either way.
I'm with you there. I think their wording wasn't great, but again, I'm with you also with I think it was short. So that's where I'll leave that one. Back on track now. Just a shout out to Ethan Strange, who I thought was sensational. He's just getting so dangerous, and I actually have him earmarked as a center long term. I think he'll transition into that. But now that they've lost Fogarty, he'll probably remain in the 5/8 next to Ethan Sanders next year. And I don't mind the double Ethan play there by the Raiders and two young guns coming through. But I tell you what, mate, like he and I'm about to say, Ennis mentioned it and said he's not that far off Origin football. And I actually agree with him. I think he's a strong body, runs hard, great support player, defense is spot on. I don't think it's far off some Origin football either. I know he played the 20s Origin, I think it was last year. The 21s. I forget if it was 20s or 21s. I think it was either one of them. And he had a great game. I think he played the centers in that one. So I think he's a fantastic player, Cam. I'm really looking forward to watching his next month or two of football. I think he's going to be a vital figure in this Raiders premiership push.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. He's playing really well. He's probably not playing the traditional 6. In the aspect he doesn't really do too much kicking. I know the other week, I don't think he even had a kick. But he's playing, like we just spoke about Averillo, he's just playing really straight. And when you play really straight, it just opens up so many opportunities to use your speed, use your evasion, use your strength, which he has. And he's just doing all those effort areas really well and just the stuff that, to be honest, halves aren't normally renowned for. So his defense is awesome. His running is awesome. His support play, he's scoring a lot of tries through his support play. And I think just that defense alone, I think that's just what's putting him up above a couple of the others. In terms of the Origin call, I think he might be unlucky with who's ahead of him. They've got Cartor, Moses, Cleary, Luai, Burton. So I think it just might he's good. I just don't know how close that he will get to Origin. He might get in the camps and things, but I just think he might have a few too many players ahead of him.
See if he gets out to the centres. But sort of when you mentioned the kicking in that there was a few games there where he didn't kick at all. I think that's a smart play by him not overplaying either, because he's partnered with arguably the best kicker in the game in Fogarty, who can often just put the ball on a string and has those towering bombs, things like that. So I felt like when he's at his stage in his career and now where he's still learning his position and his position in the team as well, I think that's pretty smart. You could have some players come on, and that's probably not his strength, so he's not playing to it. I actually like that. I know it could come predictable, but at the same time, Fogarty hasn't been caught out yet. Like, he's still putting kicks on an absolute dime, and everyone knows by now that he's the kicker of that team, so it's working for him. And I do like that Strange isn't overplaying his hand in that aspect.
Yep, I agree. And with Brailey coming next year, he has a little bit of an extra option with the kick as well. If they decide to play him at 9, I think Starling does a little bit of kicking. But he kicks if he needs to, Strange. So he's not bad at it, but just sort of leaves it alone.
Yeah, no, very, very smart play. Moving on, the St. George Illawarra Dragons suffered a heartbreaking loss to the Bulldogs in the final minutes, 20 points to 18. There was a stat that I'm going to bring up quickly. First of all, I'll just ask you while I bring this up. I'll let you have a chat about it. But the game itself and the loss, there was a few question marks about the last couple of minutes and some calls. Shane Flanagan questioned him that very clearly went for the doggies that he didn't agree with. He thought they were pretty horrible calls again by the officials. Were you seeing it that way, or think that was Flanagan clutching at some straws?
What did Flanagan say? Sorry, I didn't catch
He
what
was basically questioning couple of the late calls that the Dogs got to get him back in the game and back on the front foot before they got to that match-winning try. I think there was a knock on there that he was saying wasn't a knock on, and he's just sort of almost questioned the fact that the officials wanted the Dogs to sort of get in that game and be in that sort of where they were. He said the Dragons were brave, tremendous. He didn't question anything like that. But what were your thoughts?
To be honest, I didn't really have too much issues with the refereeing yesterday night. I think it was pretty standard reffing. I think the Dragons, it's just one that they let slip away, to be fair. Like they were ahead, 10 to go. They were playing okay. I thought Flanagan actually played quite a decent game. His kicking game was pretty good, led the team around. I thought King Tongia, I think he played a lot better game. But I think it's just the Dogs, Galvin. He was either going to throw that pass to the winger or over. It was going to happen either of two ways. But no, I don't think Shane Flanagan can blame the refereeing for that performance. I think it's just another unlucky close loss. There'll be Brewing because just more pressure on him, and there'll be more questions about his son. And I think he's just a little bit over it. It just goes
he's frustrated.
I just don't know if he should have let Ben Hunt go. I think that's the big thing. Like the Dragons, I've got a fair squad, but just that one half they need, and they had him, and they let him go. So I think he's just having a tough year.
Now, I want to throw this at you. You're basically you're leading me down the path I want to go down. I love it. So the Dragons have won 6 games this year, lost 11. I'm getting this off the Guru, by the way, so shout out to him. I actually had a bit of a conversation with him on this post this morning. I didn't quite agree with some of the points he made, and he didn't agree with me, but that's all good. That's what we have this great game of ours, and everyone has opinions. Of those 11 losses, 8 of them have been by sub 8 points. On 5 occasions, they've lost by 4 points or less. They've only been defeated 13 plus twice this season. Only the Raiders and the Storm, which was on Guru, but he's missed the Dolphins. Dolphins are in this as well, have less 13 plus losses in 2025. It's basically hinting towards they've been a brave side. They've been in a lot of teams. I actually said that not having the recognised halves pairing has been their downfall this year. I think that's it's a season of what if and what could have been in terms, and I think that's in a negative way because I feel like they're going to let a season slip where if you look at their key signings this year, they're all getting older. They probably at their prime or just past that prime at the moment, and they really needed a push, I felt like, this year because they've got some good young forwards and that coming through, but in there, some of their key spine and the fullback and hooker I'm talking about. You've got Cook, you've got Gutho. They're both getting older, probably slowing a little bit. They've got Little in there, but see what happens. But I think their halves is the big question and keeps getting spoken about. But I'm sort of with you what you're saying there. I don't know, Hunt, he just made too much noise for me to unsettle that group, and he's the captain. Like, I felt like he had to go. I don't mind that decision, but to then go into this season with Flanagan and Ilias and now King Tongia, I think King Tongia has shown some real good signs, but he needs an experienced 7 next to him. It can't be Flanagan. If they had a proper 7 there at the moment, 8 games that they've lost by less than 8 points or something would be probably down to 4, and they would have won 4 of them. And that could go a huge way of getting them into finals football this year. Yeah,
I agree. I think it's hard though. Like when they went into the season with Elias, I thought they actually had some. It wasn't as bad as I thought before the signing. I thought, that's actually not a bad signing. Him and Flanagan. Obviously, they've gone away from that And just those tight ones, if you're a fan of the Dragons, that hurts. Like those tight ones just hurt so much because you're in it. Like last night, you're in it to the 79th minute, and you let it slip right at the end. And it's just one you can't come back from because you don't even get the kickoff. Definitely, if they had a top tier half, they would have definitely, I reckon, won that game last night. And they would have won a few more. I think they've lost by 1.3 other times this season. It's gutting, but you can't be disheartened with the effort. Like Gutho, he puts it all in, and you can tell all the other players are putting in as well. Jaden Sewer, I think he had his best game of the season last night.
Yes.
I think he's really getting back to that form that saw him play for the Maroons last year. And those young guys, when those young guys come back as well, I think they've got a really good forward pack. I suppose they could do with another younger outside back. Is Sione fine now? Is he off to the Dogs? Is that right?
I think, yes, I think he is. I think he is.
And that's a bit
I don't know if it's been
disappointing.
confirmed yet by the Dogs, though. I think it's just widespread
Okay.
rumor mill that many feel like is happening. Could be totally wrong. I may have missed something.
Okay, I think I heard he was heading to the Dogs anyway, but if they can keep him, if they can keep him, that is sort of like young talent they need. I think if they can find a top tier fullback, if somebody somehow comes off, they could potentially move Gutho to the centres. And I think he'll still provide what he provides now, but just they'd have more speed. I'm not sure Sloane's the way to go. I think he's a decent winger. But all in all,
it's a tough one with him, isn't it? It's a tough one because he keeps showing us these moments, and you're like, wow, this guy could be special. And he starts to live up to that early hype he had at the start of his career. Then he also has moments where you're like, yeah, he's just not there. And I know why the Dragons have basically said to him, it's all good for you to shop around and not be here next year. And he's just one of those players you want to grab and just like shake sort of thing and be like, mate, you could be up here in this game. Like the speed, the skill that he has. If he was at the back and able to chime in all over the park against tired forwards and things like that, that would be a headache on a weekly basis. It was just like he had his head in the game. I know his defense is the huge issue at the moment, and Flanagan really is trying to improve. I think Flanagan's got to the point now he's realised, I can't fix it. I can't. And he's made the harsh call to tell him to shop around, but you're right. They need that one or two maybe excitement factors in the back line that can break a game open. And I love Gutho. Absolutely love him. Everyone knows out there who's been following the page for a long time. Even at the Eels, he was my favourite player. Still have so much respect for him, but he's probably not quite. He's got him some steel now. He's got him some toughness. He's basically got him in, and I reckon it's probably because of him. They've been in some of these games that have been in almost 8 out of these games lost by less than 8. It's probably because of his attitude and the way he plays and the way he trains. It's instilled into some of these guys at the Dragons. So it's done a lot there, but I just think now for the Dragons to go to that next level, they do need probably that, like they Iongi, that like what the Eels did this year. They replaced Gutho with like a Iongi, a bit more of excitement. Those sorts of players where it feels like Sloane could be that. And we keep talking about coulds with him, but he's had too many years now. It's sort of like, I understand what they've done there with Sloane, but yeah, it's a tough one. It's not really something to unpack now, but it'd be interesting to see where Sloane ends up, because I look and think about the NRL. I don't think there's many teams out there that could do with him and could get better with him. He's one of the unfortunate weird spot at the moment between fullback and wing. For mine, it's screaming Super League, isn't it?
Well, he sort of reminds me of a bit of a Bevan French.
Yeah.
Yes, that sort of a body shape. Yeah. Like he was quick. He had all the skill. Didn't quite work out with the Eels, and he goes over to the Super League and just rips and tears because it's just not the forwards and the sort of older forwards, or not as good a quality as forwards as we have here. And there's just so many holes to run through. I think the Dragons, if they could get a hold of Sua Fa'alonga, I think that could be a really good option. Push Gutho in a bit more. Yeah. Because he doesn't stop. He tries it. He attacks everything. And I think if you had him working with some of those, with Tui Polotu, for example, I think, get a small guy ripping around and then getting the big boys on the back of him. I think that could be a shout, but we have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah. Just a quick one on Lockie Galvin. A huge shout out to him for that moment at the end. I've been very voicious in my opinions and dropping sex and things like that. I think it's very, very harsh, but I love that Galvin's had that moment because he hasn't forced him. He hasn't requested or demanded to be in this 7 jersey for the Dogs. It's obviously what the Dogs' vision was. He was happy to sign with them. This is all unfolded. So I feel for him a little bit, and the pressure that he has he's under is immense. And for him to come out there and get that moment, I think is huge. And if I was a Dogs fan, I'd be really excited now because I think that's the moment that Galvin's probably been waiting to get, to really have that confidence level up. He's got a couple of tries now in the colours as well. The fans are starting to really get around him. He's left now. It's been a month or two now since he's left the Tigers and all that drama. He can just start to focus on the finals now, moving into it with the Dragons. And the good thing for him, I noticed a lot throughout the game, Crichton was really buying in with him. Like there was a few big moments that Galvin did that Crichton was right behind him. A couple of moments where he didn't do so good, where Crichton was almost the first man to him. So if I'm Galvin, I'm sitting there going, I've got the captain. I've got a guy who's been best mates with some of these guys who apparently didn't like him for so long at the Tigers, things like that. But this guy's my club captain. He's got my back. He's one of the best players in the world. My confidence is right up there. I've just won my team the game effectively with a pass that was high risk. We've seen as so many times sail into row C and D in the crowd. So I think it's a really good little moment at the moment for Galvin and the Dogs.
Absolutely. I think what you say there with everyone getting behind him, when they scored that last try, I think you saw Salmon run up to him. You had Crichton, all the boys were just really amped up when he scored that try. And I think, imagine if you're a young guy, if you're 19, 20, and you've got Stephen Crichton with everything he's done, with the big profile he's got going, you're our man, good on you, boy, you're with me. I think that'll just build your confidence in itself. So, I think that will really help him, especially playing with him, being Crichton outside him. I think that's just going to help his game a lot more as well. He's not going to be really targeted. Well, he's going to be targeted, but he knows he's got his man Crichton outside him. So I think that's a really, really good combo to have.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I've got to stop at the moment and just warn you. I know it's your first official podcast with us live on air, and I'm about to go off, which happens here and there. I can get a bit passionate with my views, and I'm ready to it. I'm just going to pre-warn you. Don't hesitate. Come in all guns blazing. If you don't agree, disagree, do whatever you want, please do. But Nelson Asafa-Solomona, how the hell did this guy escape a sin bin last night with a deliberate elbow to the skull of Simpkin? Boggles my mind that the referee in the bunker had time to look at this, put him on a report, and not once did it grasp their mind that, okay, that's a deliberate professional foul with intent to hurt, and we're going to leave the bloke on. I know the NRL world isn't allowed to use this word at the moment, but I will, because it describes what happened here in probably Nelson Solomona to a T. Grub play, grub moment. Should have been at least sitting down for 10 minutes. I'm just boggles my mind. And then I had a few people message me and message the page trying to say, well, if Simpkins went off for a couple of plays before for a high shot that he did on Anderson, wouldn't have been in that position. How does that make up for what Nelson and Solomona did? And I watched the Simpkin play. I've watched that tackle 20 times now, and I've tried to look at it as plainly as I can possibly do. And I wanted to do this for the podcast, give everyone my opinion. But he didn't go and deliberately hit Anderson with his shoulder with the intent that Nelson Asafa-Solomona had. It was a tackle that I think it was Jake maybe hit Anderson low early, which cracked him straight away down, and he fell into the shoulder of Simpkins. So it wasn't it wasn't with malice. It wasn't intent to hurt and smash Anderson in the face. Where fast forward another minute later, Nelson's one was a deliberate elbow to the head, which for mine should be an easy 10 minutes, if not questioning a send-off, because that's for mine, one of the lowest acts of foul play we can have in our game, and the damage that an elbow of Nelson's can do to another man is just ridiculous. And I just don't get how you can watch that time and time again in the bunker and not come back to the referee and say, that's a bull offense. Sin bin him or send him off. What are your thoughts?
I don't know if there was intent for him to hit him in the head. I know what you're saying.
Oh, we're on.
Nelson, he's an aggressive player, right? We've seen many times before. I think last year he missed the grand final because he came in guns blazing. He hit, I think it was Lindsay Collins in the head. So he's an aggressive player. He does hurt a lot of people. Yeah, it's his own teammates quite often. I think 3 players over the last 2 years have been concussed from Nelson. It is a straight elbow to the head. So I don't know how. I mean, at the start of the year, let's say, that's gone. A lot of these hits we've seen over the weekend probably would have been 10 in the bin. But I don't know if he intentionally, if he went out to hit him in the head. He obviously went out to get a quick play the ball, like, try and rattle the player off him, sort of thing. I agree that it's definitely. I reckon it was accidental. I'll go there. I reckon it was accidental. I don't think Nelson purposely tried to hit Simpkin in the head. Or was it Simpkin?
So I'm just moving my arm, just getting my elbows, just accidentally, just getting someone off using my elbow, which just is fraught with danger in itself. But shout out to the YouTube watchers just there watching me flap like a bird. But I can't live with it. I think he should have been sin bin. I'm that passionate, hot-headed on this moment at the moment, but I just can't. Like, how many people, like every game we see people fighting to get up, things like that. We don't see anyone go, give him one to the chops. It's a sin bin. I mean, it shouldn't be about, if it was early in the year, that is blatant foul play in my opinion. And it should just be, Nelson, come here, see you later, 10 in the bin, bye-bye. Easy, over and done with. But to be fair, I think he had a few poor moments as well, and I think Karma bit him on the ass because I think he was really poor last night. And if he was in one of his moods where he actually produces a quality performance, they would have gone on and won that game. I think he was too busy trying to get into a bit of niggle back and forth. I think Tui was pretty poor, Kamika as well. So a couple of their forwards really poor last night. I think Bellamy will be absolutely tearing into them this week. I would not want to be a Storm player because I think they're going to go into a mini preseason. I think he would be fuming.
Well, I think it's the Storm's discipline. I think your 2 biggest guys that give away penalties every week are Grant and Stefano and Liero, or your 3 guys. They give away a lot of penalties. Grant in particular. Grant loves to, really slow that ruck down, get into the ruck. He loves to, chuck a quick foot in and play the ball, a little hand on the ball. He does a lot of that sort of stuff. He had really cleaned it up earlier this season. But a couple of the games that the Storm have lost, and it's been by close margins, have been close games. Stefano and Liero versus the Raiders just did dumb things. Gave away stupid penalties, and the Raiders go on to win. I think that, and this game as well, Liero, he gave away some really silly penalties. Just when the game was on the line, it's crucial not to do that. And I think that's really letting them down. As good as Harry Grant is, I think his discipline really needs to clean up. I think he had done a good job of it during the year, but some games he just lets it slip, and it's just right at the wrong times. I don't know what your thoughts about that, the penalties they give away are, but
I feel like, and look, Trav will be listening, and he'll say this is an anti-hate Storm view, but it's not. And I can say hand on my heart, sir, on my son's life, it's not. But they've pushed the envelope, and I think every NRL fan who isn't a Storm fan knows this for a long time. And I feel like it's probably the one thing I'll give their officiating credit for this year. I actually think they've clamped down on the Storm's tactics a lot, and I think that's why, on paper, I think they are the best side by a mile, to be honest with you. I think they should win. If it was based on paper, they should win the comp in a canter. But a lot of their tactics that they get away with and they can win games off has been officiated properly this year. They still get away with a fair bit, to be honest with you. There's probably still 20 penalties a game that I can see happen that they get away with. That's okay, fair enough. They do what they do very well, but their discipline is going to it has cost them once again. You're right. And I feel like for most of their losses this year, it goes back and you watch them, it's discipline. Every time they've lost a game this year, it's probably off the back of poor discipline. And that's what would be pissing Bellamy off the most, is it's them doing it to themselves. It's, yes, you can probably say, yep, like Manly on the weekend, credit to them last night. They were great. They were up for it. But I think if the Storm's discipline was better, they won the game still. And it would have been we talk about Manly going, oh, yeah, they had a great performance, great, good on them, but they just weren't quite good enough. Where instead we're going, they won the game in the end. They had a good game, but the Storm's discipline for mine, you're right, like finals football and that, you can't be doing that. Like you've just got to get up, get away from the ruck. You can't be gifting teams set after set on your line in finals football. Momentum and possession is just next level in that sort of atmosphere and that sort of game. So the Storm really need to fix that up. Really need to.
I agree. And I'll put it out to our listeners, our watchers. Just when you see a penalty against the Storm, it'll be Liero, Grant, or Stefano. I swear I see
Liero's a hothead, isn't he? Just
Liero.
Trav doesn't like him either, so Trav will agree with us on this. He doesn't like him. And we're just shout out, we were watching him at Magic Round, and in the pissing down rain, gives away that penalty for the Raiders to go down and do what they did. But yeah, he's a hothead. He loses his temper way too much. And he's on the verge of being a younger Corey Horsburgh, where he was like that. He just was just an absolute loose unit. It's like Liero's taken over that mantelpiece. But the funny thing, in Origin, when he had all the big dogs around him, he wasn't like that. So I don't get it.
Yeah. I think Bellamy, that's one of as angry as I've seen him towards the back end of a game. Especially when he did that, he ran to the end of the back of that box. And yeah, that was it was gutting, because I think Meaney wanted to take the drop goal. So he gets the offload and he throws it to Kamitha, but he had thrown an awful pass, and he dropped it. But I think at that point, like, you've got Munster, you've got Wishart, who can also take field goals, standing out there. I think Meaney should have just taken the hit up, because they were right in front. I think they were 10, 15 out. I think that sort of that cost them, because I think Meaney really was like, oh, I need to take this kick, threw it, and it really that's where they lost it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Last one for the night. Bit of a funny one, maybe for us because we're not a Titans fan, but Desi Hasler. We put up a video. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure you go to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. It's all there. And it was on the Matty John show tonight as well. The blow up in the sheds. A couple of his players must have gone in for an early shower. And I think this is what it was about. There was a couple of owners in there, or the owner was in there. I don't know if it was at them. It'd be very silly if it was, because it either suggests to me the writing's been on the wall for a while now. They've told him he's not there at the club next year, and he just told him, get out, I want to address the players. But from the reaction of what was happening, he was yelling into the foreground of the footage, and then a few players who were a bit dripping wet, had a towel around them, came out in the picture. So they was obviously having an early shower. A few of their boys were still just getting in there and sitting down. Des obviously wanted to have a chat to him and grill him, because I watched the post-game presser as well, and he was not happy. He was filthy on this performance, because they were the better team for the majority of this game. They had a really good first half. Their second half, from Des's reports, was shocking. He just was filthy with it. They lost it for themselves there, and he wanted to grill him. He wanted to tear into them, but then a few of their boys just wandered off doing their own thing. And I think it says a lot about the Titans at the moment. I found it humorous, but I think the message behind it actually, when you look into it on a deeper level, suggests the issues that are at the Titans at the moment, where their players just do whatever the hell they want. They think they're all it in a way. And Desi's pulled it into line. Like, I feel like he's gone. He's done anyway. So the next few weeks mean nothing. But it's funny for him to have that. I think he's got some frustration, Desi, and it's not just the performance this week, but I think it's the whole Titans tenure, really. Like, it's been a poor few years for him, and probably went in there and you go, you know what? I've had enough of this. You boys are pissed me off again now. Get out here and let me give you some medicine, which, to be honest with you, mate, I think they deserve. I think they need some tough love at that footy club.
Yeah, well, they're a tough watch, aren't they?
Yeah.
Their forward pack is top tier. Like on paper, it's top tier. They get out into the footy park and you're going, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
Regan Campbell-Gillard probably hasn't fired a shot at all this season. Probably to you Eels fans, probably not much of a surprise. I don't think Mo's played very well at all. I think he had one of his better games today, but I don't think it's quite at the quality that we expect from him, being an Origin player. I think Campbell, he plays well on the front foot, but it's just like he threw some really nice balls to the wing today. I think he threw a 20, 30 metre cutout left to right for the first try, one of the first tries of the game. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know how to describe it. Like, I don't know what the issue is. Like, they're obviously not buying into to his methods. I think Brian Kelly probably should be out the team. I think he's another one. He gives away silly penalties. He does really silly things, and that really costs the Titans. When you're a struggling team and you get a little bit of ball, you really need to capitalize on that. I think Brian Kelly lets him down a little bit. I think the group's playing okay on the wing. Brimson, he's fullback. That's his position. But I don't really know where it's going wrong. I think there must be a disjoint between the coach and the playing group. I think that must be the biggest thing. But he certainly wasn't happy in the sheds. His face was going red. I'd hate to be a door in those changing sheds. Throw back to Manly.
Oh, that game at Pertex Stadium back then, that was, as a Para fan, I absolutely loved it. The ball was a mile forward, but he still blew up at his team, letting deals back into there. But just sort of the last point on the Titans, like you mentioned it, Brian Kelly, but I'll go as far as saying I actually think, I was about to say I think their backline needs a real freshen up. I think there's been a bit of for a while now, everyone's gone on about the Titans backline being, oh yeah, this good, fast sort of exciting backline, but there's two parts of the game, in my opinion. There's defense as well, and it's not just all about attack. And to be honest, their attack isn't great, and they've got their best attacking winger, Piero, who was on the benches today, didn't play a single minute, which is a talking point in itself there, but he's probably on there. And there's a number of positions in this team that the next coach that comes in, my first task would be, and I think Riles did it this year at the Eels, and it's sort of paying off as well for them in the long run, but you blow it up a bit. You go in and just blow the place up because it clearly hasn't worked. It doesn't look like it's going to work anytime soon with this current group. They're about to lose their main experienced player in Kieran Foran, who may not set the world on fire anymore, but he steers them around, and he's that important sort of glue that I feel like they do need out there. They got so much attack out there. They got so much flair that they just don't want to get down and do the dirty stuff. They just feel like they can win games 40 points to 36. And that mind frame and that attitude really needs to shift and start to change. I'm not saying to become a team that wins games 8-6 because that's not the Titans' identity, but start being a team that wins games 26 points to 8 and things like that. Like actually just, you can still score and you can still be that attacking force because to be honest with you, that's the Titans' identity now. You talk about club's identity and what they stand for. The Titans are about being an exciting machine, but you've also got to back your attack up with some defense, and you've got to make sure you back yourselves and say, we're happy to offload in our own end and throw caution to the wind. That's fine, but we've got the confidence in ourselves to, if we do make an early mistake, we won't bow our heads and give up and just go, oh, crap, they're about to score a try. We'll back ourselves. We'll defend, and then we'll go again, and that's what the Titans need to start learning. They're an attacking team. That's what they do. They need to start learning to defend and being a strong club.
I agree. I think it'd be interesting to see. I don't know what you call Desi, if he's an attack coach or a defense coach. But with the Warriors, for example, we got a defensive coach in with Webster, and the Warriors just used to be an attacking team, and now they're really good defensively. So I think if the Titans are to change, I think they go a defensive style coach and just see what he does with it. You see Kurt Capewell, great defensively. He played centre today. I'd love to see what someone could do with the Titans, change up that roster, bring in some defensive style of players. Because because obviously it's not working. I don't know about Randall at back row either. Like, he's decent, he's a good player, but I just don't know if that's
He's
the
actually had
sort
his
of
better year at lock last year, and that's
yeah.
I think that's more so they don't want to have Fafita like starting for some. They're just Desi and him have had a massive falling, and I actually feel like Fafita will probably be out of the door of that club by the end of the year. It's just my feeling for it, but there's just like we could go into so much more detail with the Titans. There just seems to be so much happening there, and just so much up in the air, which could also affect and should be affecting week to week basis, because players going out there going, oh crap, where do I stand type thing. There's just so much noise at a club that hasn't had success either, so they don't have that to back them up. There's could be a lot of players at the moment just could be out the door. So that's that. I think just to answer your final question on Desi, I think he's a past it coach. I think he's past it. So I don't see him as an attacker. I don't see him as a defensive coach. I just see him as a past it coach who I think has had 1 or 2 years now too many in the game and probably should have left a little bit earlier. I just think the Titans. I said it from the start. I think the Desi. I didn't agree with the Desi Hasler signing. I think Holbrook was doing a pretty good job for what he had.
I agree.
And was improving. The big question now moving forward, I guess, the next man up. I've heard Brad Arthur is a firm favourite for the job. I think he'll do a pretty good job, to be honest with you. I think he showed with Parramatta, he built us out of a mess. We were a mess of a club, similar to what the Titans are at the moment, going through salary cap scandals, things like that. The team got torn apart. Brad Arthur has shown, I'll give him credit for this, not many Para fans will actually do this, but he showed he can build a roster. He can build a club up from the bottom. I'd give him the job for 3-4 years and see what he can build. But what you can't do with him, don't let him go for 8 years or something, 6 to 8 years. Get him in there for 3-4 years, shake the place up, start to build, and then you go to your next coach who will then deliver you, if it happens, a premiership, so to speak. I just don't think Brad Arthur's the man that can deliver the premiership, but he can go and build your club up, get the right players in, things like that. Players, by all reports, do respect him and do like to play for him, but he just needs to. I don't think he can get the Titans to that ultimate goal, but he can get them to a lot better of a spot where they are now.
Well, I thought they actually did that when they brought Holbrook in. I thought he was right on the edge or something. I thought it was a bit harsh to let him go.
I do as well.
Because now you can see that it's just gotten even worse. So it's an even bigger job now.
I agree.
So
I agree with you, mate. And that is it. Hopefully you all enjoy. Let us know. Give us some nice comments. Let us know how Cam's debut was. Was he flying like Halasima's try tonight? And you want to make sure you want to see him back, let us know. I feel like he would be a familiar face moving forward. Great knowledge, mate. You really impressed me. I think you got Jake and a few of the other boys shaking in their boots, to be honest with you. So thank you very much for jumping on tonight. I really do appreciate it. Keen to have a few more footy chats with you. Everyone listening, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening to have whatever podcast you are listening to us or whatever platform I should say. Make sure you smash that bell icon and whatever else it is. Some exciting merch to come. We've got some League of Inches hoodies about to drop. Make sure you message the page if you want to order those. But that's it. Good night from us. Goodbye from us whenever you are listening to this. We'll be back Tuesday for our Supercoach podcast, Wednesday for our live show, obviously Facebook and YouTube at 8 p.m. We will see you all then. Goodbye.